Welcome, Buff fans, to the latest edition of our podcast. I'm Brian Howell. Please be joined by Matt Smith once again. And Matt, nice to see you. In the dewy grass back there.
Yeah, yeah.
You must not have AstroTurf behind you.
No, 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 no. This is more practice fields vibe in 2025 than it is
Yeah,
actually Folsom surface vibe.
yeah. Well, it's nice to see you. We're going to talk a lot of kind of preview stuff about the Buffs this year. Because, or today for this year,
Yeah.
because we're 2 days away from a football game, which we haven't had one in a long time. The last one was actually I'm
No.
wearing the shirt of the Alamo Bowl. That was the last one. Um, nine
You
months
you
ago,
just
8 months
love
ago.
wearing that memorabilia, the hat, the shirt. You just love bringing it up, huh?
I bought it, so I'm going to wear it. So, I don't care if they want it or not. I'm going to wear the shirt and the hat. But
I will say
um,
the nice backpack that we had a choice as media members to pick from like one gift, and I grabbed the backpack. It served me really well at the beach, so
yeah.
I'm not gonna complain too much.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So you use it too. So get
Yeah.
off my back. But we're going to talk about season predictions. We're going to preview the Georgia Tech game and starters predictions. But before we get into the current Buffs, let's talk about the former Buffs because there was a lot of this was NFL cut down week, and I think
Yep.
yesterday was the actual cut down day. And I think it was 11 Buffs overall made 53-man rosters. You had Juwan Winfrey that stayed on the with the Colts on injured reserve. And then I think it was 8 or 9 guys that got waived. So let's kind of talk about those guys real quick. Any surprises first off, or should we just go through the list first
Yeah,
off?
we can go through the list. I mean, I
Okay.
love that you started with Juwan Winfrey, right? Shout out to Juwan. I hope he's doing well. Always like Juwan.
Juwan's you know, it's ironic that he's on the injured reserve list because that was his career here.
Basically,
He never got he never really he had so much potential and didn't realize it at CU because he
yeah,
was injured a lot. And I'm not ripping him at all. That's just that was kind of the mark of his CU career. When he was healthy, though, you could tell he was an NFL receiver, and clearly the Broncos thought so because they drafted him. He
yeah.
was like of all people, and
Did he
again,
get
not
drafted or was he
yes,
undrafted?
yeah, he was drafted. Um,
It's a
of
while
all
ago.
people, he's the only buff that CU or the Broncos have drafted since like 1980.
That's pretty incredible. But I will say the Broncos usually yearly will add at least one buff to, rookie mini camp or to
Yeah,
training camp. Not, Will Sherman. I think he might still be there,
he
question
got
mark, or
he
maybe
got
he got
cut.
waived.
He
Yeah.
got waived. Yeah,
Yeah. Anyway, but they've also always done well, right by the local guys. Bryce Bobo got a shot with them. I remember there was a bunch of guys that ended up, I think,
yeah.
wasn't it Bentley who was in camp with them this year? Or maybe it was Coates,
Bentley
one of the
was
two, rookie mini camp.
I think
Mayers.
Mayers might have been a little bit too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean I'm looking up here. Um, yeah, as far as like drafting them though, I mean Winfrey
Yeah.
was that 2018,
I was
2019,
gonna
something
say
like
that the
that.
fact that Juwan is still even in the league anymore is pretty impressive. And I know new Buffs fans aren't gonna really know who that is, but he
Yeah,
was a receiver that came in, was banged up, had a ton of potential, just never ended up really fully realizing it. Could have
yeah,
been a really special player here, but again, injuries prevented him from that. But as far as the current Buffs, I mean, I think all things considered, you kind of have to look back and yeah, okay, we got some guys that are still looking for opportunities, but pretty solid fall camp. I was reading today that only 4% of players that were waived got claimed, and Colorado had a couple of guys make practice squads, which is a
yeah,
big deal, right?
yeah.
So I think that's
Well,
pretty cool.
Well, let's go through. Here's the list, and Adam Munsterteiger did a great job. He put the whole list out there, so I'm going off of that. So these are the guys that made the 53-man roster. Travis Hunter, which that's a shock, all right. Shedeur Sanders, the number 3 quarterback for the Browns. We talked about that.
Hmm.
LeJounte Wester made it with the Ravens. Jimmy Horn with the Panthers. Xavier Weaver made it with the Cardinals. He was kind of
Yeah.
that was kind of a came down to him and one other guy, I believe, from what I was reading. Brady Russell with the Seahawks made the roster. He's carving out a nice career for himself. BJ Green, undrafted, rookie, made it for the Jaguars. Nate Lamon for the Rams. Cheeto Bay with the Ravens. Kello with the Rams, and Isaiah Oliver with the Jets. And then Juwan Winfrey, Texans. I think I said Colts, but
Hmm.
IR with the Texans.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, I think we should start with Shedeur, right? It all came down to that last preseason game, and certainly he wasn't at his best. He had the deck stacked against him. That was maybe the worst offensive line performance that he's played behind ever, Quite frankly, it was worse than anything in 2023. Watching it was brutal. I mean, he was
Yeah.
running for his life the whole time. And look, I mean, as is the nature of the fifth round quarterback, you are going to have to be darn near perfect to really start to move up the ladder. And unfortunately, Gabriel, again, looked like he had command enough of what they asked him to do, which was not very much. I mean, the things that are being asked of Shedeur and Gabriel are very different. And you heard a lot of people commentate on that specifically. However, Shedeur's in a bit of a weird spot now.
Mhm.
And he will be Cleveland's emergency quarterback this year. And the NFL in 2023 instituted a new rule for emergency quarterbacks as a result of the 2022 NFC Championship game when Brock Purdy got hurt and Christian McCaffrey had to play quarterback for the 49ers.
Mhm.
So essentially, the way it works now is you can have three quarterbacks, you can at least dress three. However, in order for that third to play, he has to be designated as an emergency quarterback, and the two in front of him have to get injured for him to be allowed to play. However, you are able to keep him on your 53 man, which is a requirement, but he does not count against, I think it's a 46-man game day
Yeah, I
roster.
think it's 46. It's so weird. Like, I don't know why all 53 can't be.
I know it's the NFL, right? There's a
Yeah.
couple inactives every week. So
Yeah.
essentially, Shedeur is now scout team quarterback and, leftover reps guy, unless Flacco or Gabriel gets hurt, and then we'll see
Yeah.
what they want to do. I was a little bit concerned that they might go add Tyler Huntley to the practice squad, and if for some reason they did have an injury, depending upon where they felt Shedeur was, they might go to him. But that's not an option anymore, as Huntley has been picked up by the Ravens as soon as this morning. So it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see what happens. I mean, it's basically injuries now that Shedeur would need to see the field this season. And quite frankly, Brian, as that third quarterback, I saw a video of him doing mental reps yesterday where Flacco would go and then Gabriel would go and then he would just be kind of standing on the side mimicking everything with his own motions.
Yeah.
His development is now in his own hands.
Yeah.
I know that the Browns are talking about, well, we were, invested in both of these guys' development, but the truth is they can't be, not during the season. It's not possible. There's just not enough reps, not enough practice time in an 18 game season to go through it and really get two guys simultaneously ready. So
Yeah.
Shedeur is kind of on his own here. They're going to oversee him, and certainly he'll be there, and he'll have to be. I kind of compare it to in Top Gun when Maverick came back after Goose died, and they finally went on their mission. They said, "Have Mav ready on alert 5," and that's where he is. He's just sitting in the cockpit waiting for his number to be called, and he's all systems go here. So we'll see what happens. I think it's nice that they valued him enough to make the 53. I think it's
Yeah.
unfortunate because I think he needs the reps right now. I think he needs to really go through those things right now. And if he were sitting behind an established starter somewhere, I think it would be easier to do that. The pressure would be off and his development would be able to continue. Unfortunately, it's not the case. He's got maybe a better opportunity to play now, but again, you're going to need all the cards to fall your direction. And look, I mean, I always believe everything happens for a reason. So we'll see what ends up happening the rest of the season. But he is in
Yeah.
Cleveland. He's kind of held hostage to a degree in Cleveland. And this is also part of what happens when you're not drafted in the first round as a quarterback. If you're drafted in the first round as a quarterback, a team builds around you, they support you, you have more time. If you're not, you are a flyer. And that's all you represent to them, especially if they took a quarterback in the third round ahead of you. So Shedeur's got his flyer year here. I don't know what it looks like next year because if Cleveland has a bad season, they got 2 first-round picks,
Mhm.
and I don't doubt that they won't hesitate to draft a quarterback high in 2026. So it all depends upon how the chips fall this year. And maybe there are some twists and turns in store for us because the truth is, Shedeur would have never even been given an opportunity to play at all, quite frankly, not to the degree that he was if Gabriel and Pickett never got hurt.
Yeah.
So it would have been a different story. That first start he got was really fortunate if we kind of look back on how the rest of that situation went. Why they wasted time with Pickett at all, as we talked about, I don't know. But that's resolved, and now Shedeur is he's under the heat lamp this year and just slowly cooking, right?
Yeah. Well, and I'll have a different take. I mean, I see everything you're saying. I'm gonna take a different take on Shedeur's situation. Is I think the fact that they traded Pickett, a guy they traded for. I know it's late round draft picks on either end, but the fact that they got rid of him tells me that they like Shedeur to some degree. And I think I agree with you that it's kind of in his hands right now. If there's any guy to leave the development in his own hands,
Yeah.
Shedeur's the guy
Yep.
because he's going to have Daryl Colbert there. with him all the time. He's going to develop. I think that he's going to have that opportunity. And yes, injuries come into play. I'm looking at Joe Flacco's career stats. It's an
Yeah.
18 game season in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
The last time he played as many as 9 games was 2018.
100%.
So Joe Flacco is going to get hurt at some point. Okay.
Probably. Yeah.
So, and he's 40 years old. I mean, that was, let's see, it was 7 years ago. So he was 33. So he was much younger then. And that was the last time he played. I mean, when he played for the Broncos, he only lasted half the season. So, Joe Flacco is going to get hurt or benched at some point. And then Dylan Gabriel, we'll see. We'll see how he does. But where I like this situation for Shedeur is I think the door is or the opportunity is going to be there. I still believe, and I've said this since he signed with Cleveland or since he was drafted, he's going to start a game, at least one game this year. And I think that when he gets that opportunity, he'll take it and he'll run with it. And I still believe in that young man that he's going to show who he is and that he'll be just fine. It's not what we thought his career was going to start off like.
Yeah.
We all thought he would be, that top five, top 10 quarterback and be in Cam Ward's spot and, and have it that way. That's not the
Yeah.
way it is. He might have to be on his second team by the time he gets a really good opportunity. But I still believe in him. I think that this is going to be a big year for him to develop, and maybe he gets that starter too and runs with it.
I hope so, buddy. I mean, you know how everybody out there knows how we feel about him and his pro prospects. I mean, shoot, I was on the air in 2023 saying Broncos forget about a quarterback this year because he's here.
Yeah,
So it's not that I don't believe in him. I don't believe in the Browns, though, and I
yeah,
certainly don't believe in the way they handled it. And you're right, it's injuries right now. Injuries right now are his only real path. Outside of that, I don't. You're right that they knew he would get claimed, and quite frankly, if he went somewhere else and shined and Gabriel bottoms out, who do you think that falls on? Right now,
right.
Cleveland they do things differently, and if I were
Mhm.
Stefanski and Barry, I really wouldn't be worried about Jimmy Haslam because he doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, I think we all understand that now. There's enough sample size with Cleveland Browns football for me to say that comfortably. So I guess it just depends upon what the universe has in store. I hope it happens. And again, if he starts, I have no doubt in my mind that when the lights come on in the big stage in that moment, preseason, especially to that degree, is a little bit different. I was watching him throw to Cedric Tillman and Harold Fannin yesterday, which I don't think he's thrown to either one of those guys since like maybe minicamp. So it's like one of those things where, okay, now you got real players. As long as Flacco does get hurt. Now, remember, Flacco did come off the couch and win comeback player of the year for Cleveland a couple of years ago, too. So if he
Yeah,
plays at that level and they start winning games, who knows what happens? But if it, again, that feels like a very slim possibility considering who Cleveland has on the schedule early. So if it plays out like that, then hopefully he works his way into it, and something happens. But as of
yeah.
right now, I'm happy for him that this part of his career is over because I don't believe that the noise is going to be to the degree it was up until this point. I think now it'll calm down a little bit. I do. Even if
And
even
until
if
he gets
Flacco
that
doesn't play
opportunity,
well.
until he gets that
A
opportunity.
hundred percent, 100%.
Um,
But that's what I'm saying is I don't
yeah,
think he has to be in the pressure cooker anymore, and that's a tough spot to be in. Even though he
yeah.
can handle it, it's still tough.
Yeah, and yeah, I think it's gonna be a good thing for him to kind of, all right, go in the background a little bit and go develop, and I certainly don't root for Joe Flacco to get hurt, but you look at the track record. Um,
It would seem likely.
I feel good about Shador's position in that, the number one guy on the team you're at is an old, broken down quarterback that hasn't played more than half a season in 8 years, and he hasn't been very good in a decade, right?
Well, I mean, like I said, he won comeback player of the year for them in
Yeah, he
23.
did,
So,
but
so I mean, he had
but
a ridiculous. I mean, his numbers were insane when he came back. So my only point is like, I mean, this guy's a Hall of Famer. We're talking
yeah,
about Flacco's gonna be a Hall of Famer. So
yeah.
you never know what happens. But yes, I mean, trajectory wise and likelihood wise, if
His,
I were gonna bet that Shedeur will eventually rise to QB2 because Flacco
yeah.
gets probably a little bit banged up, and if they don't do well, then he probably gets that opportunity because maybe Flacco's just flat out released. You never know.
I'm not. I'm only asked this question. That we don't need to debate this because that'd be a whole show. Is Joe
Okay.
Flacco really a Hall of Famer?
I mean, he's got a Super Bowl. I mean, his numbers are going to be right up there.
There's other guys that have a Super Bowl that never
I
made a
mean,
Pro Bowl. Never made a Pro Bowl.
I'd be curious to know what the career passing stats look like, but I'd give him a pretty good chance to make a Super Bowl coming up. And, maybe not. I don't think he's a first ballot. I think he's probably one of those guys, maybe, years down the line when he's old and gray.
Yeah,
But I think he probably gets in
he
at
already
some
is old
point.
and gray.
Yeah, it's true.
I
So am
yeah.
I. What's the difference?
I don't want to debate Joe Flacco's Hall of Fame very long, but I'm gonna say no. I don't
Drop it
think
in the
he's a Hall of
comments.
Famer.
Drop it in the comments.
Yeah,
Do you guys have Joe Flacco going to the Hall of Fame?
I do not think so. He won one Super Bowl on a defensive led team.
Yeah.
He's never made a Pro Bowl. I'm looking at Pro Football Reference. He's never led the league in anything.
Okay.
And
Maybe not.
for a guy that's played 17 years, he's only thrown for 45,000 yards and
Again, I
two,
would need to
and
look at his numbers compared to everybody else.
45,000 yards, 257 touchdowns. That's not, yeah, he's not a Hall of Famer, man.
Okay.
If he ever makes Hall of Fame, I will buy you lunch.
Okay.
Sound good?
Don't you still owe me one from something?
No, I don't. I think we're good.
Okay. Okay.
I have no idea. All right, but anyway, congratulations to those other buffs. The ones waived, by the way. Will Shepard, but he was signed to the Packers practice squad.
Yeah.
Laviska Shenault was waived by the Bills. Will Sherman by the Broncos. Arlington Hambright by the Titans. Those are a couple guys that some of the newer Buff fans don't know. They were pre-prime buffs. Josh
Laviska,
Toop,
man, I gotta say one thing for the pre-prime fans. If you've never watched Laviska Chenault's Colorado highlights, go pull them up on YouTube. He
yeah,
was unbelievable. He was a Heisman
yeah,
candidate on a team that literally had nobody else for a
yeah.
while. So it was incredibly impressive. Before Travis, he was easily the most talented player that I had covered at CU. Easily.
Yeah, easily. And yeah, I mean it's Travis and then Laviska, for me.
100%.
And Laviska, I mean, 2018, they're 5-0. He's being featured on College Game Day as a Heisman
Right.
candidate.
Right.
And then he had some turf toe, I think it was.
Hamstrings too. He could never get that
Misses a
hamstring.
couple games. CU goes 0-7 the rest of the way. Um, he's still put up numbers, but he drops out of the Heisman race. And yeah,
God, he was good.
anyway, he was so good. But yeah, another one. I mean, injuries kind of held him back. Others, Derek McClendon was let go by the Dolphins.
He had a good
Shiloh,
preseason too. I
he
was bummed
did,
to see
yeah.
that.
Shiloh by the Bucks, and then Cam Silman Craig by the Jaguars. Silman Craig, we were just talking about this right before we got on here. It looked like he was signed by the Jaguars, their practice squad. I would imagine Shiloh will get an opportunity somewhere, but Coach Prime had an interesting comment yesterday saying, look, even if he doesn't, he's fine. He's got a lot of
Oh yeah.
talents, and so it sounds like they've already got. I mean, they understand that maybe this was it for Shiloh. Who knows? I don't know if he'd be willing to go Canadian League to keep playing. I'm not sure, but anyway, that's your Buffs NFL update.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there for Shiloh. I mean, you and I are rooting for him, really hard. Again, he kind of got a raw deal because I mean, he really shouldn't have been playing last year when he came back from that broken arm. I mean, it was
Yeah,
really because he was just chomping at the bit to go. Probably should have been held out a little bit longer while he recovered. I mean, it did not look great against Kansas State, but that is what it is. We're rooting for him, man. And Shiloh is one of those guys where I totally agree with that comment from Coach Prime that I mean, I think Shiloh would be fantastic in media. With a
yeah,
little bit of media training and refining, I think he'd be a star in
yeah.
sports media. If that's the direction he wanted to go, I think he'd have a very nice life for himself if that's what he wants to
Yeah.
do. So we'll see what plays out for him, but he's incredibly personable and charismatic, and he's also a great musician, and
I was gonna
he's got
say
a
he's
lot
got
of
musical
talents.
talent too. So
Yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah, so that it'll be interesting to see what happens with him and those other buffs. I mean, I'm hoping Laviska gets picked up.
Me too, man. I thought he might have a chance. Buffalo doesn't have many receivers. I was
Yeah,
pretty bummed to see that he got cut.
it just hasn't worked out. Laviska has. Adam and I were talking about this yesterday. Laviska has not been the NFL guy that I thought he was going to
No,
be.
me neither.
I
Me
thought he was
neither.
going to be an absolute star, but
Force,
yeah, but
force. He just the hamstring. He just couldn't stay on
yeah,
the field.
yeah,
That was
couldn't
part of
stay on
it.
the field, but super talented. So
Yeah.
anyway, let's move on to the current buffs and starting lineup predictions, Matt. Let's talk about
We're through
that,
camp.
and we're through camp, and we now know. Yesterday we were before Coach got up there, we were like, all right, what percentage chances are that he's going to name the starter? We're all like 20, 10. Scott Proctor was like 0.0. And Adam and I called him out yesterday because it was kind of funny. And then within the first couple minutes, And Coach Prime was like, "It's Caden." He goes, "We all knew that. I don't know why you're pretending like you didn't know it."
It was
You
you.
know,
I laughed at that comment from him. You're the one who said it was a competition. You're the one who brought up
right?
Staub and Juju
I
Lewis
know,
at media day. What are you talking about?
right? You're the one that has put them together every
I
single
don't know why
time.
you guys thought it'd be any different. Oh,
Right,
okay.
right. It was kind of funny,
Yeah.
but yeah, it wasn't a shock. Obviously,
No.
we've
We've
talked about
been
this,
saying
but
that for weeks.
we've been saying that. I mean, when you've watched the well-off media, and I've acknowledged that, I know they edited out, and maybe there's stuff that they're not showing, but I could probably count on one hand the number of times I saw Julian Lewis on the field with Jordan Seaton. Number of clips, and I never saw Caden Salter with the twos. So it was pretty obvious to me. I was more a little bit surprised that he made the announcement that it is going to be Salter, but he also threw it out there that, like, look, we want Julian to play on Friday as well. So either way, you make the announcement, but you also have Georgia Tech making them prepare for both.
Yeah, I took it a little bit differently. I thought that he meant, look, we'd love to get Julian out there if we've got a big lead in the game to
That's the way
vacates
I
it.
thought it too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think there's a little bit too much being made of the platoon thing. I don't
Hmm.
think he want. That's not who he is, in my opinion, Coach Prime. And maybe I'm
Yeah.
wrong about that. We'll see. I don't think he would promise Julian, a couple of drives just because he was a five-star recruit. I mean, he's
Yeah.
been so unilaterally consistent in that you have to earn everything in this program, and Caden Salter has earned the opportunity. I mean,
Hmm.
Julian had bowl practices, which unfortunately for him his thumb was broken, so he couldn't really like dial in during that period, but he had spring and he had fall camp. And Caden Salter they feel far more comfortable in. Caden
Hmm.
Salter is above 18 years old. He's legally an adult. Julian's still not. I feel like we have to repeat that a lot. Now, do I think Julian's going to be wicked talented? And have we talked about how excited we are for the future of the program with him at the helm? Yeah. Do I really think they need to be dedicating time to prepare him for that this year? No, I really
Yeah.
don't think so. And I think that is counterintuitive to what they're trying to do. They have to run a different offense with Julian. I
Hmm.
don't think you want to mix those things up. And I truly believe if there's ever a situation where they feel like they need to go to him, then things aren't working with Salter. Like I don't
Yeah.
think that if Salter's just going to be
Or
rolling
Salter's hurt.
or Salter's hurt, or
Yeah.
Salter's hurt. And it's okay that Julian's QB2. Coach Prime talked about that yesterday. It's like he understands. He doesn't need to
Yeah.
have some big sit down conversation. Caden Salter's nearly started 30 games. The only reason that we're even having this conversation is because some other outlets and fans want to see a five-star quarterback, and I get
Yeah.
that, and I
Hmm.
don't have any
Yeah.
disrespect towards it, but let's just be real about what level of experience and winning Caden Salter has already experienced at college. It's a no-brainer if he can go out there and perform more consistently, which it sounds like from all indications behind the scenes and by what we've seen he has. Then let's rock and roll. And I think that's what Coach Prime was trying to say. His time's going to come. He told us that at media day. When it's Julian's time, you'll know. It's not his
Yeah.
time right now. It's just not.
Yeah. Who is the highest profile quarterback recruit in the last 5, 6 years?
Him?
No, in the country.
Oh, in the country?
Yeah.
Uh, Archie?
Arch Manning, right?
Yeah.
He had to wait his turn too.
100%. But I
You
mean, the
know,
way they did it was a little different. Now, I think Coach Prime would ideally love to do it like Sark did at Texas. If you've got big leads or Salter's banged up for a week, like Ewers would go out of the game for a couple of series, right, with a big
yeah,
lead. But also, Arch was far more mobile than Quinn Ewers was. So they used
yeah,
him in some of those packages. And we talked about this before that if Caden Salter was the really accurate thrower and Julian Lewis was more of the dual threat guy, then we could see some creative packages for Julian being used. But I don't buy into this platoon talk. I think that's a mistake personally. I don't think you want to do that to Caden. It doesn't work out. When, again,
yeah,
we've talked about this so many times, unless Caden's not meeting muster, and that's a possibility. I'm not saying that that isn't within the realm of possibilities, but that is the only way that I would put Julian on the field. I think the
yeah,
developing him part, he will sit and develop. And honestly, I would not burn his redshirt year for his own benefit. Julian is an undersized guy. Yeah, he's got a lot of potential. Is he going to be an NFL player the time he's a junior? I really doubt it. He's
yeah,
really small. Okay. He just is comparatively.
yeah,
He's going to have to work on a lot. For his own development, I would try and I'd be like, hey, that's another year for you to have with to play with if you need it, and you
yeah.
might. So
Well,
that's just my opinion. That's just my
yeah.
opinion.
I would say this though, and my only point was like, look, if the top quarterback recruit in the last several years can sit and wait, so can Julian
No, of
Lewis.
course.
That's my
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
But
No, I
I will
got
say
what
this,
you're
as far as
saying.
the redshirt thing, I don't care about that because there's already talk of it. I bet you at some point during his career, the red shirt goes away and everybody gets 5 years anyway.
Probably.
And
Hey, probably.
so I wouldn't worry about that because I think there's momentum for that to happen. And so I wouldn't worry about that so much. I get your point.
Yeah.
But I think
The
that
point was
might
just you
be,
don't have to rush it. That was my
yes,
point.
but
Yeah.
I'm not sure that burning the red shirt is going to be a thing here in a couple of years. And so,
Probably not.
but anyway, I think they made a good decision. I agree with you. I'm not sure we're going to see platooning. I think when Coach Prime said the game kind of dictates that, we'd love to get him in there. That tells me,
If we have a
yep,
big
if
lead.
it's late in the fourth quarter and the game's out of hand, Julian, get in there for a series.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and um, and realistically, we'll get into game prediction later. This is not that game. This
No.
is not going to be a blowout game.
No.
Next week against Delaware, maybe.
Maybe.
A
Maybe.
couple weeks against Wyoming, maybe. Uh, I don't think it's going to happen against Georgia Tech. So we'll see. But let's go through the rest of who we're predicting on offense. Let's start at running back. So Caden Salter's your quarterback. Who do you think is the starting running back?
I think if Dallin never got hurt, it would be Dallin, but he's banged up. Sounds like he might miss this week. I don't know if he's going to miss more. I did see he was back out of practice in the non-contact jersey. It looked
Yeah,
like he had a hand wrap on. Um, it'll be Micah and DeKalen will be there, that'll be their 1-2. And then I think they'll mix in Simeon on short yardage situations, goal line situations. I think that's going to be their initial plan, and we'll see what happens. I know a lot of people are super excited about DeKalen Taylor. He's not an every down back, and he still has to prove that he can pass protect. He's
yeah,
more of a guy that you're going to utilize in pre snap motion. You're going to use him as kind of a tweener, one of those, again, I kind of compare him to Dylan Edwards. He's got that, he's in that kind of a mold. And it's not
yeah,
because I don't believe in DeKalen, but I think if you're going into the season expecting DeKalen Taylor to be 1,000-yard rusher, I think that's misguided, in my
yeah,
opinion. I think he could have, quite a few all-purpose yards, and I do think he's going to be heavily involved. But again, at his size, I just don't see a path to him being an every down back because as a pass protector, I think that's a liability. Now, Caden Salter can move more than Shedeur could. So could you maybe get away with that a little bit more? Possibly. And that
yeah,
might go to his benefit, but I think it'll be Micah to start until Dallin gets back. And he probably ends up sharing the same number of touches as DeKalen early, and whoever gets hot, I imagine they ride the hot hand. There was a little bit too much rotating for my taste last year.
yeah,
And quite frankly, the last couple of years, this is Marshall Falk now. And I mean, Marshall Falk was an all purpose, monster. He ate up yards for breakfast. So if
yeah.
somebody's hot, I'd be surprised if not for a blow that he doesn't just ride with them. So I'm going to go Welch, Taylor, Price.
I think Taylor's your starter on
Okay.
Friday night. So, um, yeah, I just think because he's that more well-rounded all-purpose back that more like a Marshall Falk. He's not Marshall Falk, but more like that. I think that Taylor is your starter on Friday night. So we'll see. Um,
To be fair, Mike has also got the same thing with pass protection. I mean, Mike is not much bigger than DeKalen is. I mean, maybe physically built a little bit
he's
differently.
built differently.
Stature wise, he's really not, though. I mean, maybe an inch or
He's
two.
not the
So,
same receiving threat as Taylor is, though.
no, no, definitely not. I think it's going to
So
be a situational usage. It's going to be a pure rotation.
yeah. Starting receiver. I'm gonna project they start with three guys on Friday night. I'm projecting there'll be an 11 personnel team to start things off. And
Me too.
so um, I think would you agree that both Millers are starters?
Yes.
Omarion and Draylon?
Yes.
Okay. Who's your third receiver?
It's a good question. I think it depends upon what they want to do. I think it comes down to two guys, though, and it's either Joseph Williams or Sincere Brown. I wouldn't have even put Sincere Brown in that conversation, but I think the last few weeks of camp, he really started to come
Mhm.
on. And, I
Yep.
think we even talked about that with him. Like it took him a little bit to understand what was expected of him, but as soon as he did, he started to kick it on. And he's got a skill set that outside of Hakeem Williams, you just don't have on this team. So
Yeah.
I think it's between either one of those guys, and I'm comfortable with either. If it were me, I'd probably start with Joseph Williams because I think he's a little bit more proven at this level, and then Sincere will come along. But there's going to be so much rotation. It doesn't matter who's a starter.
Right.
There's going to be
Yeah.
tons of guys who play.
Yeah. I agree with you. And I guess I should say what we're rejecting here is like who's going to be in that who's officially goes down as the starters
Right.
on Friday night. I'm going to go Sincere because of what you're saying there. Like, I feel like when I've watched Well Off the last few weeks, it's when Sincere makes a play, he's catching it from Caden Salter. When Joseph Williams makes a play, he's catching it
That's
from
valid.
Julian Lewis. There's definitely going to be rotation.
Yeah,
Joseph Williams going to make a lot of plays, but it would indicate to me that Sincere is getting more first team reps than Joseph Williams, or that maybe Salter's more comfortable with Sincere right now than
sure.
Joseph Williams. So I'll go Sincere in that starting lineup, but it could be Joseph Williams. I mean, frankly, there's a few guys it could be.
Yeah, and again, I don't think it matters, right? Because all these
Right,
guys are going to
they're all
play,
going to
and
play.
I think with the receiver position, even more than the running backs, it's going to be situationally. I
Yeah,
could see short yardage and goal line situations where you've got Sincere and Hakeem Williams out there, right?
yeah,
Like just trying to get big bodies out there on the outside. Maybe you're in 10 and you've got Omarion and Draylon on the inside. Like they can do a lot
hmm
with what they have because they do have a lot of different skill sets. And again, Isaiah Harge, I expect to make plays. Terrell Timmons looks like he's getting back into shape. And
yeah,
when he does, I imagine he'll make his way onto the field, right? I mean, he's one of the older guys in that room. I mean, Hystera, we've heard
hmm
Coach Phillips talk about how he's kind of a Swiss Army knife. I mean, help me out who I'm missing here. I mean, go down the list. I
Did you
don't even
mention
know.
Harge,
Yeah, I
Isaiah
did.
Harge?
Yeah, he's gonna make plays.
Yeah, trying to think who else.
The point
Those are
the point
those are the
was
main
is
ones.
that
Yeah,
I mean, we're talking about 8, 9, 10 guys here, and I
yeah.
think they all can contribute. Oh, and
Caleb,
Farrakhan and Gibson. I mean, I don't
right.
think they're going to be factors early in the season, but they're going to make their way onto the field eventually, especially in situations. I think they're going to try and use Quentin Gibson as that little toy weapon, kind of like that little
Yeah,
Ferrari you just throw it to. So I do think he'll
yeah.
play.
Caleb Mathis is going to get in there a little bit
And
too.
Mathis, that's just
Yeah,
what I'm saying. Like
yeah.
they're going to rotate a bunch of guys, and I
hmm
truly believe is going to be a different guy every week in the
Yeah,
running back room and in the receiver room.
yeah,
I would be surprised if you, other than maybe Omarion and Draylon, I think they're going to be kind of up here. But as
yeah.
far as like on a week to week basis, are they going to lead the team in receiving? I can't necessarily say that because I could see
Right.
Joseph Williams popping off for 150 yards, 2 touchdowns in a game. Sincere Brown, like we could see production from that. So who's the starter doesn't really bother me in the receiver room. Even as Coach
Yeah,
Prime said yesterday, if there's one thing he can promise us about this year, they're going to be consistent with their wide
yeah.
receivers.
I think he was saying as long as he's here, they're going to have receivers, and so
Is
I
that what
do.
he was saying?
Yeah,
I missed
that's the
that
way
part.
I read it.
Okay,
I do think though that I agree with you. I think the Millers lead this team in snap count, but there's going to be a lot of rotation. So
gotcha.
tight end, who do you think starts at tight end on Friday night?
I think it'll be Savell. I think it'll be Savell
That's what I
because they
think.
trust
Yeah,
him more in blocking
yeah,
situations and he's spent longer in their system. And
yep,
then again, situationally, I do think they're going to be in a lot of 12 personnel this year too. I think that's going to happen. With the RPO, I don't see a way around it. Unless you had some elite gunslinger, but I don't think Caden's like that.
yeah,
I mean, I think he can be a really good passer and very efficient, but I wouldn't call him being able to sit there and deal in the pocket his biggest strength. So,
yeah,
yeah, I would say Savell, but I think Zach Adkins ends up having a huge year. He and
yeah,
Caden have a really good chemistry already. They're going to utilize the middle of the field because Colorado does have all those weapons on the outside. I think Atkins ends up surprising people. Like he's a guy that I could see have 120 yards, 2 touchdowns in a game this season. I don't even
yeah.
think that's out of the realm of possibilities.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you totally. I think Savell starts because of his blocking and just that
Yeah.
trust they have in him right now. It is interesting you mentioned 12 personnel. I was texting you the other day, and I don't think I'm revealing anything because it's been on well off, but I asked you, so have you noticed that they've been showing a few plays where they've got seven offensive linemen on the field? And there was a few times I'm watching it and I'm like, oh,
Mm.
Yo-Yo's playing with the first team offense with Salter. And I hit pause and it's like, wait a minute, McGill's in there too. And you start counting like there's seven offensive linemen out there. So, that's gonna be interesting. Um,
Do we also have to call him Yo-Yo?
I
Is
guess
his
I know
name Yaya?
it's
Atia?
Yaya, but everybody's been
Okay, I
calling him
know. I
Yo-Yo.
just like I mean, I don't know.
Yaya,
Anyway,
Yo-Yo,
the
whatever.
point
But
was is yes. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if you think back to 2023 when Colorado tried to go to 11 personnel, but of course didn't actually have a scholarship tight end on the roster. It was just a converted receiver and Mikey
mhm,
Harrison. They went to Hank Zelinskas as a tackle
mhm.
eligible tight end. So I think that
Well, I remember
they
when
are.
they also used Bishop Thomas as a fullback,
Yeah,
right?
he was an up back. Yeah, he was an up
Yeah,
back. A little bit
yeah,
different, but
right.
maybe they end up doing it that way. But the point there, and I love that observation by you because I had missed that, is that we're going to see a lot more formational versatility and they're going to do things to keep
Yeah,
defenses guessing because they have to outcoach you this year. They're
yeah,
not going to in my opinion, I don't think they're going to out talent like at the top end a ton of teams. I think they're going to have to put it all together to have the
yeah,
season that they want. And it doesn't mean that they don't have talent, but you walked on the field and Shedeur and Travis were the best players on the field last year in
right.
every game they played.
Yeah,
So
pretty much.
yeah. So my point was is that you don't have that. Now it comes down to the total operation and how well that works.
I'm trying to find. I was looking real quick. I'm not going to find it, but yesterday Coach Prime said something about offensive line. He was saying, "Look, because last year we struggled to find five.
Yeah,
I wasn't going to put six out there, and so I think they've repeatedly said they like seven, eight, nine guys that can play on that offensive line, and so that's why I would not be surprised at all to see 6, 7 offensive linemen on the field at once. So that'll be interesting. But who do you think is the starting five? I mean, I think it's pretty clear
yeah.
when they're healthy, and I think they're all healthy now. They've pretty much had the same starting five from day one of camp, which is Jordan Seaton at left tackle, Xavier Hill at left guard. There was that center competition, which we'll get into in a minute. Zarian McGill is my projection there. Zy Crisler at right guard, and then Larry Johnson at right tackle.
Yeah, I think that's going to be it. Coach Prime clearly wasn't very happy with Cooper Lovelace at the center
No.
position. I mean, for multiple days,
Yeah.
screaming about it, actually. I mean, he got snaps on the ground over here, over there. I look at how short of a leash it was with Hank
Literally
Zilinskas.
yelled, "Get me a new center in there."
Yeah, and look at how
So
short of a leash it was last year with Hank Zilinskas. I mean, he
yeah,
missed a couple of snaps and he was never to be heard from again. And he was a
yeah,
guy who came in highly touted at that position. It was like it wasn't even a situation where we're going to work with him. It's no, we'd rather have a freshman walk on and in Cash Cleveland in there because
yeah,
we're not wasting our time. So I think, in my opinion, I'd be really surprised if Cooper Lovelace sees any time at center outside of due to injury. I think they would
yeah,
even go with Yaya now that he's back to practice before that.
yeah.
So
Shermer this week, he was asked about the center competition, and the question to him was, "Are you seeing any separation between Cooper Lovelace and Zary McGill?" And he says, "We feel like there has been, and that'll reveal itself on game day."
yeah.
Well, I think it revealed itself in
It revealed
Well-Off
itself in well
when
off,
Coach Prime
100%.
was yelling at Cooper Lovelace. So I think that's the revelation right there.
And in fact, I saw Lovelace with the twos. I think it was yesterday working at left guard. So I think that they've already moved on from that. I think Cooper's
Yeah,
done at center, and I think now that Atia's back, maybe if Yaya gets hurt or something like that
yeah,
happens, but no, I think you said it. It'll be Seaton, it'll be Hill, it'll be McGill. Right guard be Chrysler and right tackle be Johnson.
yeah,
Now, do I think that Kareem Harden's going to play a bunch this year? I do. I think
yeah,
they're going to have a rotation up front. Do I think Ogun B is that what that's the other?
yeah,
I think he's the Texas A&M transfer. I think he will play at times this year as well. They're going to rotate up there to keep some of those guys fresh. And quite
yeah.
frankly, I think that with a month or two of development, maybe some of those guys behind them start to make the strides that they wanted
I
to see in camp.
Yeah, I think Taimani's going to get in there as well. He was out the
Agreed.
first few weeks, but he's been back, so he's going to get in there. Tyler Brown, we'll
We'll
see.
see.
He certainly has. He started a lot of games last year, but there's a reason why they went and got a whole bunch of transfers. So
Yep.
there's four. Everybody talks about, well, Jordan Seaton's the other one back. Well, he's really not. Tyler Brown started almost every game last year. He made it not a finished every game. Kareem Harden started a lot of games last year. Philip Houston's been out, but he started almost the whole year last year. So they've actually got a lot of guys back that started last year. Just Seaton's the only one that they want.
And
That's in the
and to
lineup.
your point, Coach Prime said
Harden a
yes.
little bit too. Yeah.
Yeah, and to your point, Coach Prime said yesterday, we're not going to have to go to a break glass in case of emergency and start Ben Resnick at right tackle. That was essentially
Right.
what he was trying to say, which is what they ended up, or at least play him there, what they ended up having to do after Houston hurt his knee. So
Yeah.
we'll see how it plays out. Obviously, you and I have said this many times. We feel like this is on track to be the most improved position group on the team.
Yeah.
It's going to have to reveal itself before we're going to declare that because with offensive line, you never know what it looks like until they hit the field. But I feel confident in saying this is clearly the best unit that he's had since he's
Hmm.
been here, Coach Prime. And I have higher. Let me put it this way. I actually have expectations for that group this year, whereas quite frankly, I had none the last two,
Yeah,
zero. I mean, I thought that okay, maybe they could improve it a little bit, but based upon what we saw in camp, it was like, is this really getting any better?
right.
And so now, and then it revealed itself the first couple of weeks of the season that it was
Yeah, it
marginal at
was it
best.
was marginal. Yeah,
So here we go.
here we
And
go.
I think that it really comes down to them having a successful year. I think health has a lot to do with it, and that group up front, along with Caden Salter. I think if you were to ask me the most important, the positions that have to be the most successful this year for this team to achieve what they want to, it's that five up front, and it's a
Mhm.
quarterback.
Yeah, I agree with you. With tight end being a close in that group too. Let's go to defense. The front four. I'm going to go Arden Walker and I've been wavering on the other defensive end spot. I'm going to go Quincy Wiggins, and then Amari McNeil and Anquin Barnes on the interior. What do you think on your front four?
Yeah, I think you said it. It'll be Wiggins or Okunlola, but I think Wiggins has because he's been healthy and Sam's been kind of in and out of the lineup. Although I think
Yeah,
Sam's starting to come on
yeah,
when healthy and when he's back to normal, I expect that to be Okunlola over
yeah.
Wiggins.
Hmm.
I just think he's got a little bit more versatility in the run game, but we'll see. I mean, they have been raving about what Quincy Wiggins has done in camp. He just hasn't done it on the field yet. So we
Yeah,
need to see that. But I believe that to start, it'll probably be Wiggins. It'll probably be, well, definitely be Arden Walker. And Quinn Barnes is the most improved player on the team since last year. I mean,
yeah,
he's an animal right now. I think he's their
yeah,
best defensive lineman. I think he's overtaken Amari McNeil.
yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But that is the group that I have the least concerns about this year,
Hmm.
quite frankly.
Yep,
But that being said, they still have to prove that they can gel and stop the run. I
yep.
really am confident in that group, but they're going to get a big old test with Haynes King and Jamal Haynes on Friday night.
Yep, they are, and I think there's gonna be a lot of rotation
Oh,
on that
tons.
defensive line on the edge as well. But like,
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna see Torian Carter, Jaheim Otis, Tavian Coleman, Brandon Davis Swain has been making some plays in there
He
as
has. He's going
well.
to play a
So
lot. I think
he's
he
gonna
might
play
end
a
up
lot.
playing a
Yeah.
lot.
So
Lightfoot.
you're gonna see a lot of Lightfoot as well. So you're gonna see a lot of guys in there. Keaton Wade, obviously on the edge is going to be a factor as well. So
By the way,
um,
Keaton also missed all of spring ball, and I think he was healthy, but he definitely is behind a couple other guys right now. I think they might
yeah.
use him situationally, but he's definitely behind Okunlola and Wiggins from what I've seen at practice. I don't know what you would say,
And he
but
was
that's
that
just my guess.
situational guy last year, and I think it was George Hilo said he needs to prove himself to be a consistent guy.
Yeah.
Don't know if he has yet, but he's at least going to be in there on third down, so he'll be a factor. Inside linebacker, I know they've talked about rotation. I think it's going to be Martavius French and Reggie Hughes, right?
Yeah, I really think so. From what I can just perceive based upon the clips we've seen, I think Coach Prime really likes Reggie Hughes.
Yeah,
I think he's a big fan of his. Again, I've said this before. I think he's the best sideline to sideline linebacker Colorado's had since maybe Addison Gillum. Just as pure athleticism. I think Landman was great getting downhill and he could get to an edge, but as far as actually being able to cover somebody if you needed to, I think Hughes is probably going to be their best coverage linebacker since Gillum.
hmm,
Just my opinion. But
yeah,
but yes, that is a position they're very thin. Martavius French has been very vocal. I know I've seen Coach Prime get on him a couple of times, but he's been very vocal. They've had some rotation with Hughes there, but I think they've landed there.
yeah.
If healthy, I don't think anybody else is really going to play unless you have one of those
I
guys have a bad game.
I think Jeremiah Brown's going to rotate in there. I think we're going to see a little more
Probably.
rotation than we saw last year.
I agree with you, but I think if they had their choice, it wouldn't be that much more. Like I
Right.
think if you could bubble wrap one position as a coaching staff all year and go, here's my magic wand, you're not going to get hurt all year. I think they would do
Yeah.
that to the linebacker room because I think that's
Or,
where they're the
or
thinnest.
running back.
I mean, one of the two. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, one of
Yeah.
the two.
Yeah. Those have been, by the way, for months, those have been our two red flag positions, right? And they still kind of are going
Definitely.
into the season. I like the frontline talent, but as far as the depth, those are the two thinnest positions they have. Um, in the secondary, Preston Hodge will be the nickelback.
Yep.
Um, DJ McKinney at a corner. Carter Stoutmeyer will be at a safety. The other questions are going to be the other corner and the second safety because second safety would I think Tawfiq Bayard when healthy is going to be in there, he hasn't been that healthy
Mm-mm.
recently. I don't know if he's ready to go. It hasn't looked like he's played a lot. It looked like their scrimmage the other day he wasn't playing but was out there in uniform. So I think
Benny
Friday night,
boy,
I think
Benny
Friday night
boy.
it's Ben Finnesseth as your starter, and the other corner. I don't know who it's going to be. I'm flipping a coin, Teion Parks or RJ Johnson because that's they haven't given us any indication. I'm going to go Teion Parks there.
Okay. I'm glad you did because I'm going RJ. I think the
Okay.
last week or so, he's started to rotate back in with the ones a little bit more. They definitely throughout camp gave Tyreekis Davis had a shot to earn it. I think he's just too small, though. I mean, he's a pretty,
Yeah.
compared to the other two guys, I don't think they're going to be comfortable with him out there on every down. Isn't he the
And,
backup nickel?
yeah, I was going to say it sounds like he's kind of that backup to Preston anyway.
Yeah, which I'm very comfortable with him there.
Yeah.
I do think it'll be RJ Johnson because of the experience. I think maybe he had a slower start to camp, but he's come on a little bit stronger based upon what I've seen. And again, the familiarity within the system certainly to start. And then I
Yeah.
do think Tion will play a lot because he's excuse me, he's broken up a lot of passes over his career, right? I mean, this is a guy that when he came in, I said, watch him because you never know. He could be one of those
Right.
FCS guys that pops
Hmm.
out.
Yeah.
So, Illinois State's FCS, is it not?
Yeah, I think they are. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, just wanted to make sure. So, and then the safety, it gets very interesting. This is a huge year for Carter. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a huge year
Hmm.
because they don't really have anybody behind him,
Right.
at least that I've seen. I mean, they're going to have to go youth, and that will be a break glass in case of emergency situation. They brought
Yeah.
in Terrence Love from Auburn. Love has been hurt. I think I did see he's back out at practice in a non-contact
Yeah, but he hasn't.
yesterday.
He's barely been out there all camp.
But that's my point is like I
Yeah.
think they are
Hmm.
just starting with the process with him.
Right.
Beyond that, I mean, you're probably going to have to go to an inexperienced guy, or maybe they ask Parks or Davis to slide over because what was it? Carter told us before last year he'd never played safety, and they
Yeah.
threw him in there and were like, figure it out. So I don't think they're opposed to having to do that if they feel like they have a little bit more
Hmm.
talent with one of their corners as opposed to a backup safety.
Right.
However, that is a position that worries me. I don't think it's going to be a big problem against Georgia Tech, although I feel like a lot of people have written off Haynes King for what he can do as a passer, and Georgia Tech got one of the most high profile receiver transfers in the country this offseason. I think his name's Eric Rivers. So they have loaded up, right? Like there's talent at the receiver position. I don't want people to think that they can't throw because they can. And Ben
Yeah.
will be tested deep. I promise you, offensive coordinators are going to go, let's see if he can run. Let's
Right.
see. It's
Yeah.
going to happen.
Yeah.
And best of luck to him. I mean,
Right.
Ben is as he's a great kid, great
Hmm.
young man. I don't think that he would be starting if Tawfiq Bayard had been healthy, and he knows that. He will play
Yeah.
this year, certainly quite a bit rotationally, and I think Ben actually might end up having an L on the jersey. We'll see. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know. Just based upon who he is and what he means to the program, he might. But yeah, that is a concern. That position
Yeah.
is a concern. And Carter still has to prove that he can do that at a big boy level too. Like I think he can. I think he has all the talent in the world. I really do. It's his first real year of playing safety.
Yeah.
So it's
And big boy level meaning, he's a full-time starter. We
that's what I'm
depend on
saying.
you every single game, right? It's because
Yeah, you're a
he,
dude.
yeah,
You're
because
a dude.
he started 7 games last year at different positions, but this is his first time really being
But he
the
was next to
guy.
Cam and
Yes.
Travis and DJ and
Like
like,
you're the
so
leader now. And
you're the
so
guy now. Yeah.
when he
Yeah,
was in
you
there,
and
he
DJ.
had at least one of those other guys around him. And so they also have John Slaughter, and they like TJ Branch, the freshman. So they've got some talent, but I agree with you. Um, Tawfiq needs to get back quickly.
Yeah,
I
and
would
the other
feel
Tawfiq we didn't mention was Thomas at defensive line, and
that's
we've
right.
heard good
Yeah.
things about his camp too. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah. Yeah. So that's our starters predictions. As far as the game on Friday, what do you think?
uh, you cannot start slow. You cannot. And I'm nervous about the first half because Georgia Tech is going to have a much smoother operation because they've all been there. You've got a returning starter. It's going to look like that early.
Yeah.
Colorado can't look like they're discombobulated early. I'm slightly nervous about that, just a little bit because it's so new for so many guys. Again, you're replacing 16 to 18 of 22 starters on both sides of the ball, depending upon how you want to look at
Mhm.
it. This is a new team, it's a new era. It will probably take a little bit for things to get going. Again, I'm a little bit worried about their ability to come back down multiple scores this year because they're not going to be as quick strike as they were with Travis and Shedeur.
Yeah.
So I really think that you've got to play yourself into a chance in the fourth quarter, and I think they can. I'm not saying that I think they're going to get crushed, but I'm a little bit weary of that just based upon the experience certainly playing together that Haynes King and Georgia Tech come out and it's 14-0 before you could say Bob's your uncle, and CU's trying to dig out of that, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure they're going to have the ability to do that this year like they had in the past. Georgia Tech's a favorite for a reason. I still have Colorado because I think they're going to surprise some people, but I do think it will be late, and I think it's a coin flip. I think this game comes down to Kaidon Salter with the ball in his hands in the fourth quarter, down 7 to 10 points, and needing to make a play. Like
Yeah.
I really believe, and it's not because I don't believe in CU, but remember, the Colorado team that started last year, the season, was not the same team that we saw in week 3, even,
Right.
right? It took until
Mhm.
after Nebraska for them to start running the football. And then they got gradually better and better, which I believe this team will do throughout the course of the season. It's just all about making sure that your alignment and assignment are dialed in so you don't have any bad breakdowns, which again, with a lot of new players, you wouldn't be surprised if that happened early.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I've got this like 34-28. And again, I think
Okay.
it's a coin flip. So I'm going with CU. But again, it would not surprise me to see Georgia Tech win this football game. It just wouldn't. They're a good
Yeah.
team in the
Hmm.
ACC. They took
Right.
Georgia to 8 overtimes on the road. That's not a fluke. You don't do that just because, you got lucky that night. It
Yeah.
is a team that can play. Now, I just want to see that version of Colorado show up that I believe they can be. I don't know if it'll happen right at the start. That's my only concern.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the Buffs win this game, but I think it's gonna be very close. I'm like you. I would not be surprised if Georgia Tech wins. I think to me, they're one of those sleeper teams in the ACC.
Totally.
Nobody's really going to talk about them because it's Clemson and Miami and North Carolina with Belichick. But I think Georgia Tech is a sleeper team in the ACC. I think this would be a huge win for the Buffs and one that
Huge.
um, by the end of the season we look at as an even bigger win than we think right now because I think Georgia Tech's going to win 8-9 games. So,
I agree.
but I think Colorado gets them, and I think it's going to be close. I agree with you. It's going to come down to Kaidon making some plays in the fourth. I'm going to go a little lower scoring than you have it. I'm going to go 27-24 Buffs. And I think that, Caden's got to make something happen in the fourth quarter, slow start or not. However they come out, there's going to be some lulls in the game, whether it's first quarter or, third quarter, you're struggling, whatever. He's got to pull them through it. But I think Buffs win 27-24 and get this season started off right.
And let me say something. I am really excited to see what Pat Shermer has up his sleeve.
Yeah.
Because if you'll remember, the only time he didn't have Shedeur was against Utah, and that was the Jimmy wide receiver pass. Like he had some fun little wrinkles up his sleeve when they went to Salt Lake in 2023 without Shedeur starting.
Yeah.
So I am looking forward to seeing what that's going to look like, right? And I think you might need to do some of that stuff. Again, this is probably one of those games that if you're just looking at it on paper, you probably shouldn't win. Okay,
Yeah.
you probably shouldn't, but it's one of those that if you do, it can really change the trajectory of your season. And again, it's not that we're hating, we're just talking about objectively. And I know a lot of
Yeah.
you won't understand that. We get that. I mean, this is not our first rodeo here.
Yeah.
However, I think it's important to acknowledge what you said. This is one of the better teams on Colorado's schedule this year, in my opinion. I
Yeah.
mean, I know you watched Kansas State and Iowa State, same as I did. Neither one of those teams looked all that impressive. I know it was first game of the year, and I know they were in Ireland, but like I don't think they were either one of them are world beaters. I don't have Kansas State or Iowa State right now penciled into my college football playoff.
Yeah.
So this is a big test because this is a huge year for Georgia Tech's program. Like they're largely irrelevant, right? I mean, nobody expects much out of Georgia Tech based upon the competition that they play every year, truthfully. And right now in the ACC, everybody expects a massive year out of Clemson and a
Yeah.
huge year out of Miami. Nobody's really talking about Georgia Tech out of any, aside from anything other than a sleeper. And Haynes King has played in Colorado before. I think that does actually matter a little bit.
Yeah.
As far as
Played a few
comfortability.
plays.
Comfortability, yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
comfortability factor. He got
Yeah.
ready for the game. He prepared that for that
Yeah.
week as if he was going to be the starter. I do think just from a, it's not like you're opening up, in Death Valley. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Where, and I know that the Georgia Tech, what was it, DB the other day made that comment about how CU's got celebrities on the sidelines and such. I did see Randy Moss was in the building today, which was super cool. I know Coach Prime talked about him, checking in on him constantly. For me, super cool. Randy Moss is,
Yeah.
I mean, he was one of my sports heroes, man. So
Yeah.
definitely my favorite football player of all time. So I thought that was amazing.
Yeah. Well, they might have Randy Moss. They will not have Ralphie on Friday night. Um, no Ralphie on to start off this season. Hopefully, week 2 there will be a Ralphie. We'll see.
I'm okay if
But
they don't. And I want to talk to fans about Ralphie. They knew this wasn't going to work out. It took a while to figure out what they were going to do about it. It got really bad visually at the end of last season. And
yeah,
I want to laud the university for not just continuing to try to make it work. No, they really put in the effort to try and get it, fixed. I think a lot of fans are out there going, well, what the heck? Well, we got to remember that every Ralphie up until this point had to be restrained rather
yeah,
than egged on. Ember was the only one that they had to drag to the 50.
right,
Everybody else, they were literally holding on and, dragged around by their heels around the field.
right.
So I expect that they wanted to make sure the next Buffalo wasn't going to have that problem. And I imagine there's a little bit to go to break that in because I don't think they've been at it that long. I think they've been trying, but I don't think it's been that long. That's part one. Part two, I don't know why anybody's complaining because they haven't run out behind Ralphie the last 2 years. That tradition is
Right.
basically dead. And if it comes back, I honestly don't think Coach Prime's going to want to run out behind Ralphie. I think they're going to let the Buffalo run and then they're going to do it, as opposed to she goes and everybody goes behind her. I
If,
just
if the tradition comes back as we know it of them running behind Ralphie, it'll be the next head coach that does it.
I 100%
It's
agree
not
with
going.
you.
Coach Prime's not going to do it.
No way. No way.
So
And look, I mean, you got to do whatever somebody's personally comfortable with. I
yeah,
think it's a shame, but that's, he's not comfortable with it. I
yeah.
think that's clear. And I'm not trying to
I,
bag on him, but look, I mean, everybody, I grew up around animals, I hands on, that's just something I did as a part of my life. So I'm comfortable
yeah.
with some of those things. Now, this is a wild animal. You don't find many bison in Florida.
No, and I'll say
No.
this too.
In Fort Myers, there's not too many herd of buffalo.
You know what I've learned in the last 24 hours since it was announced is that there's a lot of fans out there that know how to identify and train a buffalo more so
Apparently,
than
yeah.
the CU people
I,
who
I
work
I
with them every
wouldn't
single
call
day.
myself a bison expert. I would just say, like, I mean, look, if you say she's trained and she's gonna go that way, I'm good with it. You know,
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
I'm
But
just it's just funny like the amount of people that have ripped
I know
CU
it's
for
ridiculous.
you're doing this now. It's like no, this has been in the
This
works
has been in the works,
first
and
of all,
honestly,
and you can't just go find a buffalo somewhere and then all of a sudden you can't just go find a buffalo then now go have a run. No, there's actually training, and
there's a
there's
significant amount of training, and you have to train young men and women to be able to
yes,
handle that as well. I mean, it's not
yes,
like we're talking about, grown adults here who are, really responsible for their own selves. I mean, I'm sure the Ralphie's handlers have to sign waivers, but they're still, young kids
and
by
keep
and
in mind, I
large.
mean, they went through a couple of candidates before they identified 6
Right.
who didn't work out, right? And
No.
so that they went through a couple, they thought, no, that's not going to work. And they had a year, like almost 2 years, because Ralphie five retired in the middle of 2019. 2020 was a pandemic. They didn't run with the Buffalo, and they spent that entire year. And then Ralphie six debuts in the 2021 season. They had almost 2 years, and then what they came up with was Ember, and so it's tough. And so
By the way, I wasn't trying to take a shot at Coach Prime by saying like you're too scared to run out
no,
behind the
no, no,
Buffalo. It
no.
was just more like I want people out there to understand. That's what
That's
I'm
his
trying to say.
preference.
It's his preference. He's not comfortable with it. We
I'm
get
not
it.
taking a
Like
shot at him either. It's just that's his
no,
preference.
but also like to all the old school fans who were complaining about it, guys, they haven't been doing it the last 2 years either. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
like did you did you really think it was going to come back? It
right.
wasn't just because she ran. If they were going to run out behind anybody, it would have been baby girl, but they didn't want to do it.
That
So
was the one to do it
yeah,
with.
that was the
Yeah,
one to do it with. The one that,
yeah,
the Alamo Bowl was bad. So,
yeah,
once they went through all that effort to drag her down there and she got scared because of the blue turf and she didn't want to practice and run,
yeah,
that was the problem.
yeah,
They didn't do any practice runs. Normally they do, but she got so nervous because of the blue turf that they could only do that. And even then, I mean, that was brutal. So, yeah, I'm
yeah.
glad
It
they're doing
was
it. I can't wait to see it come back whenever it comes back. I would hope that they restore the tradition for what it really is, I think it significantly kills moment. I want to say this though. I think because they don't do it right, I think there's a significant lack of juice to start games at Folsom Field. I really believe that. When the team runs
Mhm.
out behind the Buffalo, everybody is keyed up. When the Buffalo runs, everybody's like, woo! And then the team comes out, and then we got to wait. Like it definitely slows it. There's a
Yeah,
reason why the tradition worked the way it did. Because when that team runs out behind that animal, whoo, the whole place is lit up. And instead, it's
yes,
just that's why the Lil Wayne thing was a little bit like, don't you remember in 2023 was a little bit anticlimactic because it was
yeah.
like Ralphie still had or either still had to run or hadn't run or it
She
was
had
just
run.
he
Yeah,
had run, but it was and then the team came. It just takes too long.
yeah,
That's why it works. It's like she's gone, let her get to the 40 and now we go. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Or and
yeah,
maybe not even the 40, the 30. So I want to say for members of the administration that are watching, like that definitely has a factor into how games have been starting energy wise. I
yeah.
truly believe that.
Okay,
So
awesome. Last thing before we get out of here, your season prediction. What do you think?
good question. Good question. I know a lot of people out there are incredibly bullish on this team.
Mhm.
They are a brand new team
And
to
there's a lot of
achieve.
people that are not. I mean, they're the opposite on this team.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about people locally. You
Mhm.
know, I think that this is a rebuilding year for them. They have a lot of pieces that are returning, but as far as like rebuilding what this is going to look like moving forward, there was a massive shift, and that's okay. They reloaded, and I think it's going to be one of those years where they hover between rebuild and reload. So I've got them right now a full range. I can see one thing, I can see the next thing. I've got them a full range of 6 to 8 personally, and I'm going to settle right now on 7 wins. And similar to what I said last year, I think they can get hot down the stretch. If this team improves enough over the course of the year, I also am not incredibly intimidated by the Big 12. I think 7 to 8 wins is perfectly reasonable. But if for some reason they're struggling in this area, running back is thin, like we talked about, linebacker, they have injuries. They're just a few injuries away from having a different season. So I'm going to hedge my bets. If you want to be upset with me for doing that, I completely understand. I also do not care an ounce what you think. I just want to put that out there for every fan. I don't care. This is my opinion. I think that right now seven's a good place to shoot for and go prove me wrong. And it's not
Yeah.
that I don't think you can. Again, I think you can get hot, but my expectation is 7.
I'm 7-5, and I think anybody that thinks that's a slight towards this team
Doesn't really get it in my
doesn't really
opinion.
get it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a really nice season when you're
Yeah.
coming off of last year. I mean, look, 7-5 gets you to a bowl game for the second year in a row. CU has not done that in 20 years. Okay. I think, and I have a hard time. I know Coach Prime, and people have said it. He said it again yesterday. He thinks they're a better team. I have a hard time believing that when you
Me too.
lose Travis Hunter and you lose Shedeur Sanders, that you're going to be a better team. I want to see it. I feel better about this team today than I did a month ago when they were starting fall
Agreed.
camp.
Agreed.
Watching things I've seen on Well Off, I'm like, okay, that looks better. The
Yep.
offensive line, I'm like, yep, that looks better. Defensive line, yep, that looks better. Running backs, I had to Kalen Taylor, like, okay, he looks better than maybe I thought he would. There's a lot of things I like that are better. I still have a hard time thinking this is going to be a better team than last year. I
They
think
won
it's
9 games.
they
They
won
won
9 games
nine
last year,
games.
and you could argue they were right there to win in that 10th and
They
against
were.
Kansas State, and being in the Big 12 title games. That's how good they were. I think that they're better. So I'm not going to say they're better than last year, or as good as last year yet.
Yeah.
I think they're better right now than the 2023 team was,
Agreed.
and that
Yes.
team to me underachieved and should have been in a bowl game. They should have beat Stanford. We all know that. If they beat Stanford and win and get win number 5, they're going to get win number 6. They're in a bowl game,
Yep.
in my opinion.
I agree.
So the 2023 team was a bowl team that underachieved. This team is better than that, in my opinion, and better than that, it's 7-5, and I think that there's certainly a path there to where if the Big 12 it has a year like last year, and maybe there's some teams that are not as good, or maybe there's some people on CU that are better than we think. I think there's a path there to win 8, 9 games, and so I'm gonna put my range 6 to 9 even bigger than yours. But I'm gonna settle on 7-5, and I think that's a really good season. And I think if Coach Prime gets his team to back-to-back bowl games for the first time since Gary Barnett, be excited about it, people, because that's a really good accomplishment at the University of Colorado.
I completely agree with you. And I would just say that a successful year to me is six. Like if you
Yeah,
get above six, to me, that's a success
if you're
based
in a
upon what
bowl
you had
game,
to
that's a
replace.
success. Yeah,
That's a success. So anything above that to me is really gravy. I know a lot of
yeah,
people, I'm also not going to be one of those people at the end of the year, if they win 7 games, be like, I told you they were only going to win seven. That's not
yeah,
what I'm saying. I'm talking
yeah,
about, and you are as well, our expectation for what a successful year looks like. And while a lot of you are going to hear a lot of the rhetoric and get overexcited, I respect that. It's the start of the year. We
mhm,
understand that. But at the very same time, I think it's important that we keep things in perspective. Somebody's got to, because I
yeah,
mean, quite frankly, I've heard a lot of people around here that it's 8-4, 9-3. Which, Brian, if that happens, I would be thrilled. Something
yeah,
will have to happen for that to occur that I don't anticipate. And I
yeah.
want to bring one thing up defensively. They held teams to 23 points per game last year. I don't believe they're going to only hold teams to 23 points per game this year on average. I think they're going to have to win that many games with what they have offensively. And if
Mhm.
they do, I would love to see it. That's a really good benchmark to be paying attention to see if this thing has legs throughout the course of the year, how they do defensively, because that's what you can hang your hat on. That's what hopefully travels late in the year. And we do have to remember when the stage got the biggest last year, they did wilt. Okay. They lost to Kansas with everything on the line. They
Yeah,
didn't really show up to play BYU.
yep.
Kansas State, they had it in the bag, even with all those injuries. And unfortunately, they let it slip. So there is that
And
next
look,
level for the program.
Nebraska.
And Nebraska,
Nebraska's a massive stage, and they crumbled.
right. And
So
that to me, I don't even really hold against them because that place was like a I mean,
it was,
I
it
don't think
was.
anybody could really have anticipated from an
But
environment perspective.
I agree with you. But I'm saying those pressure cooker games,
Yes, they haven't really shown up to be
they
their
haven't
best
shown up to be
selves
their
yet.
best. Yeah,
And guess what is a pressure cooker game? Friday night.
yeah,
Friday night
yeah,
is, in my opinion, when you look at
yeah,
this year, absolutely. It's a game
yeah,
you probably shouldn't win, but you are at home, so you do have a chance. And if you win it, it could change the course of what you do this year. So you and I are on the same page. Look, if you're upset with that, get in the comments, scream,
I'll say
say we're
too, they've had some ones. I mean, UCF was sort of a was a pressure cooker in some ways. Baylor was in some ways, and so it's not like they've
It's
never
not like
answered
they
the
haven't had
bell.
big wins. We're talking
Right.
about the wins that changed the trajectory, really, of
Correct.
the
Yeah.
program, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Like
Yeah.
you beat UCF, what does that count for this year? You beat
Yeah.
Baylor, but it doesn't really count from a. You beat
Yeah.
Kansas last year to go in that moment. You beat Kansas State last year. You enter this season with a ton more respect than
Yeah.
you would have. It's just the
Yeah.
truth.
Right.
So we got to keep it real here. That's what we do.
We'll
That's
keep
what
it
we
real.
do.
We'll keep it real. Matt, we'll see you sometime soon. I don't know when, but
You never know.
yeah, Friday night is a football game, and we're excited for that. We'll see you then.
All right,
Bye.
buddy.